Are you sure you want to stand there? Yeah.
Oh, when he starts.
Yes. Check this out. Fabian came with his motorcycle. And the reason is, his car came on a tow truck. I know, everybody goes now. That's where they always are. That's their natural habitat. The car only runs in limp mode, so as long as it's not going uphill, it's still moving. Oh God. That was a nice tow truck, but only 3.5 tons capacity. Yeah. So, stop. So that's about all the power the engine still has. Now, what's going on with this vehicle? Very simple. The problem is an unplausible crankshaft position sensor. So most likely the sensor is still delivering pulses, but not in the correct way, and the ECU basically shuts the vehicle down into limp mode. We're gonna have to replace that crankshaft position sensor and most likely also the trigger wheel, which means we're gonna go the transmission out way. It reports a P0336-66 crankshaft position sensor A circuit range performance, algorithm-based failure, signal has too many transition/pulses. That's a very common fault on the Land Rover Discovery 3. At one point you may lose the function of your crankshaft position sensor. What most people then do is they go through a lot of effort replacing this sensor and the vehicle don't start or still does not work. In order to avoid this, you got to do a proper diagnosis before you do this job, and that's what I'm going to show you guys first. In order to diagnose those signals, we got to tie into the wiring harness. This is the best point to access this, and I used these probes where I can puncture the cable. Here's the wiring code, what I figured out on the crankshaft sensor. I tied into the signal and into the ground. On the cam sensor also signal and ground, and here are the colors. These two and these two, so we got 4 probes hooked up. In this case, the vehicle is still running, it's just producing that fault and it's going into limp mode, which makes it now really easy to diagnose. All I gotta do is turn the vehicle on and look at the signal. Here's now the signal. This is the 0 pulse from my crankshaft sensor. Down here you see 1 transaction of the camshaft sensor. This is a good 0 pulse. The 0 pulse needs to be twice as wide as the regular pulses. So it doesn't look like the crankshaft sensor is actually the problem. But when I scroll now over, I'm gonna let the picture now wander this way. At one point I should see the second pulse. And here is now 1. And when I go further, there's 1 which looks like my first pulse. So basically, this pulse here is not a good pulse. This is a crippled pulse. When I count my transitions from 1 0 pulse to the next, I want to see 58 transitions. I get this pulse after about 34 peaks. So this pulse is not supposed to be there. For some reason, this trigger wheel is not giving us an accurate, good 58 pulses. This is a prick part, aftermarket trigger wheel.
Question. We did that engine rebuild in 21. There was still Corona lockdown and parts were hard to get. And we were on a budget.
Fabian was on a budget. So
Yep.
For me, this is the second bad aftermarket trigger wheel I experienced in the few engines I've done. So all we got to do now is lift this baby up and take the transmission out and fix it. First step is to disconnect the battery. And that's actually all we need to do up here. To take the heat shield from the drive shaft out. So I got to disconnect the shift cable here of the transmission. Okay.
Put it into neutral.
Somewhere there got to be neutral now.
So I didn't see it.
Well, because you didn't pay attention. There's neutral.
Okay.
Ah, damn Leno God.
I just realized the extent of that repair. I'll test it.
Okay. There we go.
So that prop shaft is 14 years old, 15
And
almost.
the center bearing is...
Oh, it's disintegrated also.
No. Yeah.
In Africa, you can get that fixed easily.
Good, listen to here. Got it out in one piece.
Perfect.
Removing the front drive shaft also. In order to remove the cross member, we got to drop the fuel tank a little bit. Already good enough. Now I basically mount the tank back up. So I can lower this down off the transfer case here. Now I can work on this cross member and take it out. Removing the cross member. There we go. I can lower now the entire transfer case down a little bit. Okay, now I can take the drive shaft out. Good. Check out this setup. So this is my special tool here to take these bolts out. There's a video about this on our channel.
Very nice.
So usually I do that.
Yes, that's true. You got
Oh,
it?
now it's free. Yeah. Yeah. Whoa.
That was not good.
That was a close one.
Could have broken some connector.
Let's hope it's not oily. Look at that. There are bugs in here. Oh no, your transmission is busted. You
Well, might be normal. Okay, it's loose. There we go. Good.
Oh, so now we can get these two transmission bolts.
It's not gonna last much longer. Oops. So you want to be careful because I don't want to replace that. Have that replaced in Africa.
I don't know what they are doing.
We're taking stuff off. Bolt is like a gynecologist's dream.
Yeah. I don't think I have those brackets.
Of course you do, just because you were not around.
I was around.
Two more difficult ones on the top and the gearbox bolts.
Oh my god.
And the starter motor.
Oh my god. So that extension is at least 800 millimeters long.
This is one. This goes in the crossover pipe box. So that was easy. Yeah. So, crossover pipe mounting bracket done. Oh, that one is always a bitch. Removing the flywheel bolts out of the torque converter. And little bit. Stop.
I mean, you guys get the idea.
There's the last one. Okay, flywheel is loose. Now we got to remove the mounting bolts of the bell housing.
I'm glad my fingers are not involved. It's already separated.
Is it over?
Oh, what's your fingers, Christian?
Yeah, I got them in between.
Oh my god. The breather hose is off.
The
Transmission is out.
So we put it over here.
The one part where your car is not leaking oil.
Yeah, the only one.
The bad guy.
It looks aftermarket.
There's a piece broken out of it.
No.
What the
Unbelievable. Aftermarket shit part.
That's why.
Look at that. That is unbelievable.
So our collection of trigger wheels is almost as big as our collection of oil pumps now.
I'm 100% positive that this caused the problem here. And you can see when I lever it off here that it is brittle. Okay, that was causing the crippled impulse. This is the typical Chinese tool what everybody uses to mount the trigger wheel. First of all, it's not very precise what the angle is concerned. If you put this on here, it actually has play. So this slop alone, plus the slop you have in the dowel pin, eats up that gap. I made my own high precision LR time trigger wheel gauge. With that gauge, I can verify that the trigger wheel is 100% in the correct location, plus minus 0.1 degree. I made my own LR time seat tool. This seat tool has here a step in it, which assures that the trigger wheel does not get seated too deep. There is a tolerance of plus minus 0.3 millimeter in the wobble. That's why I recommend that you machine your own tools like this on the lathe in your kitchen. So here with my seat tool, I can clearly see if these holes line up, and I can see that very precisely, okay? With this being set up, I can now knock the trigger wheel carefully in position and then I gauge it one more time. Now I got it precisely in position, my holes line up perfectly with my gauge tool. And now out of that position I gotta knock it home. First I gotta get it flush. Now I'm using the seat tool here, which has that gap machined into it. 3.6 millimeters deep, and that makes sure that I can put it nicely into the correct depth. And I just got to go around here. And you can also see how this tool stays away from the actual magnet ring. It's not hitting it, okay? So that's way safer than the Chinese stuff. And done. You can see it's perfectly lined up. And the depth is also exactly 3.6 millimeters. Now I can install the new crankshaft position sensor, and then we're gonna run this baby to see if it works. I've chosen the Bosch sensor, and I tested it in my lathe before to make sure it's working and it has the right signal. Now, what most people do not know when they test these sensors is that they require a 4.7 kilo ohm pull-up resistor towards 5 volts. Otherwise, they deliver only 1 volt.
I only understand red is black and plus is minus.
That's about the same, see, except there is no black, there's only red. Connected the cable on the outside, and now I maneuvered the sensor in. Very carefully, no force. It's a very tiny bolt. And the gap gotta be maximum 1.2 millimeters, minimum 0.5. This ratchet is also very useful when you do brain surgery. So this gets 4 Newton meters. Click, click, done. 50 Newton meter. With the locking pin in place, I gotta go 2 times 45 degrees with a minimum torque of 80. So I got it adjusted to 100.
So now is the time to start the engine. The automatic transmission is here and the transfer case is here.
Now the idea is to make sure the vehicle is running before we put it all back together, and that I can clear this one particular fault. It's going to generate about 2 dozens of faults because there are about 20 connectors not connected right now.
Yeah, I hope it starts.
It's quite risky.
So remember guys, you need a lathe, a mill and an oscilloscope if you want to own a Discovery 3. Nothing's happening. A automatic transmission car needs a transmission to start. Well, at least a sensor connected. Oh my God. Yes.
At least I hope that's what it's complaining about. It wants to see the neutral switch.
Yep.
Good enough. We'll leave it like this now.
So we're going to start it now. Whoa, sounding like a V8. Super cool. So it needed the transmission to be hooked up. We only do that shit for Fabian and nobody else.
The fault from the crankshaft position sensor is gone. We got now a diesel particle filter fault, obviously because no single cable is connected, okay, from the differential pressure sensor.
We don't want a crippled spike.
This is our zero pulse. It looks completely different than before, because now we clearly got 1 spike skipped here and 1 spike skipped here. So this pulse here is 2 spikes long. And when I scroll over now, we do not have any more crippled pulse until the next crankshaft trigger wheel revolution is complete. So absolutely perfect.
Cool. I wonder how many crippled Discoveries are out there because of a shitty trigger wheel.
Oh, no, don't stand here.
Why?
Because there is a big, huge black...
Christian,
Are you sure you want to stand there?
Yeah.
There's the exhaust here.
Oh, when he starts.
Yes.
Getting that transmission back in. It's going to be a nightmare. Thank God I'm not involved.
Okay.
I'm only the camera girl, thankfully. Needs to be. But it's completely dry. There's just a little bit of, friction rust.
So this is special high temp anti-seize for highly abused metal-to-metal connections.
So, same procedure.
Turn it just slightly.
Fabian's turning the crank.
What you need to do now is grab the output shaft of the transmission. You put it in gear. There.
What?
Yeah, and now you turn the output shaft until I say stop. Tightening the torque converter bolts.
245 Newton meters.
And a little bit more.
So Christian is tightening the bell housing bolts. He lost one on my Discovery 3 we built.
Okay, I'm gonna hear about that.
For the rest of your life.
Ein bisschen mehr. Good, very wet. See, up there above the bell housing is where he tightens the bolt, and all the way over here he's got the torque wrench. That's good.
Yeah.
So we got the transmission back in, we got the crossover pipe fastened, we got our cables and hoses back in place.
And they did not forget the breather hose.
No, then we got the starter motor plugged in. So there are a lot of individual steps, but there's no sense bothering everybody with these annoying details.
Yeah,
That's not
exactly.
very
And we're
attractive.
running out of time. Yeah, so there was a lot of threading.
It's almost surprising that the spline is not completely gone. But for going to Africa, I think this is
That's
easy
good enough. So we're at the transfer case. Almost there. Oh, that's enough.
Gotta get the breather hose.
It's in an angle. The angle. Oh, perfect.
Oh, that was so easy.
See?
You guys should sell your Toyotas because a Land Rover is so easy.
So that's the position Christian has been in for the past 15 minutes.
Only a cow farmer has his arm up in something sometimes that deep. I'm using this special tool here. 45, click, click. Click, click. See, you can even use a regular spanner as a torque wrench. 6, 7, 8. I got them all. I'm like 80% sure I got them all.
Okay. I really want to take that thing apart.
We're gonna work on our burnout soon.
Yeah. Grease your plugs.
Let me show you how to grease this. You use your silicone grease, just a little tiny bit like this. And you put it here on the inside, all the way around. And then when you put this over it here, it goes in really smoothly and clicks. You want that rubber grommet to slip through with the proper amount of lubrication. That's very important. Otherwise they are under tension, and when you have a couple of heat cycles, they would just pop off. And then you have a debacle when you go wading in Africa.
Ooh.
It's raining.
Oh, it's raining cats and dogs.
85, 90, 92, click, click.
Oh
I had
my
it adjusted
God.
wrong. Oh, it was so strong.
Yeah, right.
Higher? Okay, good.
Whoa, it almost slipped off here. Whoa, no loop.
Well, I want this to rust all solid.
Now we want him to get it off in Africa. All done.
Click.
I heard it. The rear prop shaft. Tidying up.
The IV connections. Desktop mechanics, they can't sleep now 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Sometimes people write, hey, desktop mechanic here, how about this or that?
Yeah. Nice. We rebuilt that engine, Christian and I. And that was like 2 years and 50,000 kilometers ago. Now he's gonna say hit the brake.
Hit the brakes. Filling up the HP6 until there is a light dribble coming out. Of course, we shifted all gears before for the desktop mechanics.
Yeah.
And we made sure the temperature is above 30 degrees.
Oh, here's the drizzles coming. Yes.
There we go. This is the correct amount now.
Oh my
Okay.
God. Fluid filler plug, 35 Newton meters. 35 Newton meters, like I said.
So we are going on a test drive with Fabian's car after this major repair. I just love how his car drives. It's so heavy. You feel that weight. It drives like a Rolls Royce immediately when you leave.
Oh, he's got electrical.
Yeah, he's got
Oh my God.
even an electrical steering wheel with memory.
Oh.
See?
Yeah. It's got more power than mine.
It's got more power than yours. I don't know
Oh,
why.
what the?
It drives completely different from yours. I don't know why that is. Okay, so we're almost up, and here
Yeah.
we're gonna inspect it. Oil temperature is 67 degrees.
Such a pretty car.
Here are the transmission lines. And I gotta make sure they're not leaking. That's good.
It's not leaking. Yeah, that's good. I want to see where that smell is coming from, but it's probably all the liquids we have. Oh man. Yeah, and the car's not on fire, as you can see that.
And that's it for this episode. I think we got it all done. And we want to thank our Patreons a lot for their support at this time. And
we'll see you next Sunday.